Escape Room is the first new film of 2019, and as usual, it's a horror thriller of sorts. Last year, that movie was Insidious: The Last Key, which, for a fourth film in a franchise, was actually not too bad. It's from the same director as Escape Room, believe it or not. This film follows a group of people who get involved in what they think is an innocent game in which $10,000 is a reward if they can escape this room. Escape rooms are a thing now. I mean, you can go to these places that have puzzles. There's Harry Potter themed ones. There's Star Wars themed ones. They're getting very big, and eventually a movie was bound to happen surrounding this concept. And this, of course, takes the idea of what's normally viewed as a fun event with friends and makes it our life or death scenario. I would say the first 30 to 40 minutes of the film were diverting enough. The characters, though, were very annoying. One of the characters actually says out loud, "Wow, I feel like I'm playing the world's funnest game with the world's meanest people." Because most everyone in the film, except for a couple characters, are total assholes. None of them seem like they want to be there, despite the $10,000 reward. Even before the game starts, there's this vibe in the room of anger, and it kind of makes the proceedings not fun, because there's no fun even before the bad shit starts to happen. You can't really enjoy watching these people get involved in these scenarios because they seem absolutely miserable before the life and death stuff happens. And that could perhaps be an attempt to endear us to these people because it makes us feel for them because we understand that their lives haven't gone very well. But it sort of sucked all of the fun that could have been had out of the earlier portion of the movie, but it was still watchable enough. Like, the first room is based around heat, the next is based around cold. The third room is actually my favorite in the movie, and it was really entertaining and easily the best scene in the film. Deborah and Woll from Daredevil, who I love, gets a lot to do in this scene. It's this upside down room in which the ceiling looks like the ground, but the ground also looks like the ground. There's pool tables on the ceiling, lamps on the ceiling, and the director, Adam Robitel, does a lot of interesting things with the camera throughout this scene, twisting things around and playing with your perception, and I thought that was actually really clever. Just about after that, though, I think the film takes a nosedive into unintentionally hilarious territory, and I found the film to get considerably bad after that, to the point of cringe-worthy sequences, and an ending that was so disappointing and so out of left field and very unnecessary that it was a little bit maddening, to be honest. It's a film that sets up questions and kind of prides itself, specifically the screenplay, on being really clever and inventive. And it makes you ask questions about things you see early on, a doctor's name, for instance. And then the film tries to tie this into things as the film gets to the end. But the film cops out and leaves you with no answers, and instead a setup for a sequel that was just very lame. And so it's almost like they said, hey, we've got you on the hook with these interesting questions, but we don't want to bother ourselves with actually crafting these answers into the film. We're just going to assume that hopefully this makes enough money so that we can get a sequel, and then maybe we'll address those questions in the sequel. But even if they do get a sequel, I'm not really seeing any of these characters being in it again. It's probably just going to be another straight-to-DVD sequel, or if it does get a theatrical sequel, it'll probably just be a new group of people. This movie feels very much like a PG-13 version of Saw combined with the movie Cube. If you've ever seen Cube, it's a sci-fi film with a group of people that are stuck in a cube, and every single room has these puzzles that they have to solve so they can advance farther and farther into the cube and hopefully escape. This movie is a mashup of those things, especially once you discover certain things that are going on under the surface. The way the film wraps up was just so horrendously disappointing, and it felt very much a ripoff of other things that we've seen 1,000 times as horror fans. The characters themselves also really don't save the movie because there's very few of them that are likable, and most of the actors, save for a few, namely Deborah and Woll, do a fairly awful job. Tyler Labine and Logan Miller, these two actors, were pretty good as well. But the rest of the cast are very, very weak. So much so to where it really just feels like acting. None of their emotions really feel authentic. Especially our lead actress, who is apparently the main protagonist. She's on the poster, and throughout the movie you kind of get on her side of things. But she never really comes forth in the film to be the protagonist. She does very little of any real merit. She makes a couple smart choices. There are scenes where you can see that Adam Robitel is talented, and I did like Insidious: The Last Key. His film, The Taking of Deborah, Logan, also did fairly well on the indie horror circuit. I think he is a very talented filmmaker, but this very much so feels like a studio botched job. And that's just my personal impression. I could be completely wrong. I think he's a talented director, and I want to see what else he does, but the movie took such a drastic nosedive into corporate sequel territory in which I began to feel like I was watching a movie that didn't give much of a shit about creating anything of art or merit or at least entertainment value, and just really wanted to make sure they could start some kind of a franchise out of this. And the final scene is just horrendous. I have no idea what happened. It felt like an entirely different person suddenly started directing the movie. And it was just very confusing to me. This is very much so a first week of January movie. I'm going to give Escape Room a D. There are parts of the movie that I found entertaining. It's just that when the film takes such a drastic turn towards the end and kind of reveals itself to be what it is, it just lost me after that. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. I'm looking forward to some movies this January, namely Glass, the Dragon Ball Super movie, The Kid Who Would Be King from the director of Attack the Block. That could be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. I'm looking forward to another year of talking film with you guys and making films and sharing them. Thank you so much, guys, as always. If you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.